So we all know that there was a ton of great TV shows in the 1980s, and most of you probably know that my favorite thing to watch is comedies. Whether it be TV shows or movies, I love comedies. And for me, the cheesier and more ridiculous, the better. Now, growing up, one of my favorite TV shows was Diff'rent Strokes. I still love it to this day. And there was a two-part episode of Diff'rent Strokes where they come here to Hollywood and they come to Universal Studios. And as a kid, that was my favorite episode because you got to see the theme park. As an adult, I still love that episode because of the nostalgia, getting to look back and remember what the park used to look like back in the 1980s. I do wish that they showed a little bit more of the theme park. You do get to see some stuff, as well as some scenes filmed at the Universal Sheraton, which is right over there, right across from the main gate. And so today, we're gonna be checking out filming locations from that Diff'rent Strokes episode. Season 6, episode 16 and 17, because it's a two-part episode. Hooray for Hollywood. So, let's go see what we can find. The episode starts out as usual in the penthouse, with Dudley and Arnold trying to pick a movie to go see. As everyone's about to leave, Mr. D says that he's going to spend a romantic night at home with Maggie. But after dinner, Maggie turns into a cold fish and says she better be going. Worse than that, she says they shouldn't see each other anymore. And Mr. D is heartbroken because he's head over heels for Maggie. After talking it over with the family, he decides that he's going to head to Hollywood to stalk Maggie where she is on business. And better yet, he's taking the entire family with him, even Dudley, but not Pearl. So once they get to Hollywood, they head to their hotel, which was the Sheraton Universal. And as I mentioned, this is located directly across from the main gate at Universal Studios. And lots of different movies and TV shows have been filmed here over the years, including Columbo, The Rockford Files, T.J. Hooker, and Beverly Hills 90210, just to name a few. And this is where my high school prom took place, right up there on the top floor. How exciting. So this right here is pretty much the first shot that we get of the hotel. The camera then pans over to the right and shows the fountain in front as we see the limo pulling into the hotel driveway. Now you can see the fountain is still here, however it has changed, but that parking garage back there is still the same. The limo then pulls up and parks right in front of the hotel. So things have changed here a little bit, but basically right here is where the limo would have pulled up, and Arnold and Kimberly and Willis and Mr. Drummond all get out of the limo and they head into the hotel. Diff'rent Strokes will return after these messages.
I'm Inspector Sledgehammer, and this be my gun.
If you want to clean up a naughty world,
I've never been with a man before.
Neither have I.
you gotta be tough.
I want that bucket filled with milk, and I mean pronto.
Sledgehammer, followed by sidekicks.
Friday.
We now return to Diff'rent Strokes. And that brings us to the pool area at the Universal Sheraton, which you can probably tell has been remodeled. However, the building still looks the same. And Maggie would have been lounging by the pool, enjoying a book, when she starts getting harassed by a waiter. But once she looks up, she's shocked to find that it's Mr. D, who would have been standing right here. Now notice that outdoor bar behind Maggie? That's right over here. And as I said, this entire pool area has been changed. They got rid of all the brick, but basically right about here is where Maggie was sitting. And as she was sitting here talking to Mr. D, he decides to pop the question. And everything's going great with that until the hotel manager shows up and tells her that she has a package for Sam McKinney. Now this is where things get tricky. The direction that they're looking would put the hotel manager right about here. But if you look at the buildings behind him, he's actually standing on the other side of them. These are the buildings that you see behind the hotel manager. So Mr. D hears the hotel manager say that she's staying with someone named Sam, and he assumes that it's her ex-husband, and they've gotten back together, and so he's ready to call off the engagement. But then she tells him, I think I better introduce you to Sam, and she calls over to the pool area where Sam is sitting right here with his feet inside the water. Of course, Mr. D sees the man getting out of the pool and he thinks that that's Sam until...
This is Sam.
Hi.
It's now time for Willis and Kimberly to have some fun exploring Hollywood. The shot that you see in the show was actually taken from right here on Ivar Avenue. This building now blocks it, but if you turn onto Sunset Boulevard from Ivar Avenue, you can now see the Cinerama movie theater, which just closed recently, and people aren't too sure what's going to happen to it. But for now, the Cinerama is still here. Right here at the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Orange Drive is where the guy was selling the maps to the stars' homes, and Kimberly and Willis are driving down Hollywood Boulevard coming from this way when they pull up right about here, and Kimberly decides that she wants a map. And that finally brings us to Universal Studios Hollywood, where Arnold and Dudley are taking the studio tour. Notice those 3 buildings behind the tram? If you take the studio tour, right after you pass the water tank, you'll find those very same 3 buildings. So that would mean it was right here in this area where the tram stops and everybody gets off, which is something that they used to do back in the day. However, I don't know if they would have done that in this area. Once everybody from their tour walks away, Arnold and Dudley take off to go explore the backlot on their own. They would have been running down this road. We then see them walking on some train tracks when Dudley stops to tie his shoe. Just then, the train starts heading right for him, and they can't run away because Dudley's shoe is stuck. Luckily, the train stops right before it gets to him. Now, this is, of course, the old runaway train gag, which used to be located right here. You can still see that train parked on the old collapsing bridge right next to the King Kong Experience. They're then walking on a path just beside a body of water. Now, that would have been this path right here, and this is, of course, the Jaws Experience. Dudley notices a man in a fishing boat in front of a dock. Now, the man in the fishing boat was removed a long time ago, but that dock and all the buildings behind it are still here. Just as they're about to walk away, they get a little surprise behind them, and they take off in the direction that they just came from. Now, as you can see, Jaws is still here and still looks pretty much the same as it did when it first opened. As they're walking up a hill, they notice a house, and they figure maybe the people that live in that house can tell them where they're filming Knight Rider, because, you know, people usually live in houses on backlots. Now, this is, of course, the Psycho House. So they proceed up the steps to the house, and I've actually walked on these steps, and I don't know what they were like in the 80s, but when I walked on them, it felt like they were going to crumble right underneath me. So they ring the doorbell, and they would have been standing right here on this porch as the door swings open and they're greeted by Frankenstein, because of course, who else would live in the Psycho house? Now you can still find Frankenstein wandering around the park almost every day, just not at the Psycho house. So they finally find where they're filming Knight Rider, but unfortunately, the security guard tells them to get lost. Just as they're leaving, David Hasselhoff pulls up because, you know, he of course drives Kit to work. Now he would have been coming down this path and parked in front of this bridge. After David Hasselhoff drives away, they use that opportunity to sneak past the security guard. The security guard would have been standing right here. They then would have walked down this path around the back of these buildings, and right over there is where they were filming Knight Rider. They then hide inside of a sheriff's car, not knowing that that car is going to be blown to bits. Now it's kind of hard to see from this angle, plus they've changed all these buildings, but right here is where that sheriff's car was parked. So the security guard has no idea what happened to Dudley and Arnold, so now it's time to resume filming. They call action, and two bank robbers come running out of this building, which would have been this section right over here. You can see it looks a little bit different. Just then the sheriff runs out, jumps into the car. They then swap the real sheriff with a dummy because they're going to blow up the car. David Hasselhoff sees him hiding in the back seat and runs over to save him because he's a real-life hero. He then hangs out and signs autographs and takes this famous picture with him, which was taken right over here in this area. See that door behind him? That's this door right here. It's just now blocked by this tree. After coming back from Universal Studios, Mr. D tells Arnold that he's going to have a little brother. Arnold doesn't take it too well, and neither does Sam. And they both end up heading to the outdoor bar at the hotel where they drown their sorrows in junk food. This is where they meet for the first time without knowing who each other is. So this is the outdoor bar by the pool. And right here is where Sam would have been sitting. And then Arnold walks up and sits right beside him. And you can see this area has changed a lot. There's no longer that big fountain that used to be right here. It's all now just a seating area, but roughly right about here is where they were sitting, not knowing that they were about to become brothers.
I was just wondering what's good.
Well, Sam, I'll tell you what's not good. That creepy guy with the beard hiding behind the tree, watching you and Arnold. Luckily, they got rid of the tree to try and cut down on the number of creepy people hiding around the pool area. So as you can see, it's been remodeled, it's been updated, but this is roughly the spot where Arnold and Sam were sitting and enjoying their Incredible Hulk Sundays. How cool is that? Awesome. So now that everybody knows each other, they head back to the theme park and they go to the Hollywood Screen Test, which used to be located right here. This used to be an open air amphitheater. This is now where Kung Fu Panda is. It used to be where Shrek was. Not sure what it was before Shrek, but back in the 80s, this is where the Hollywood Screen Test was. And so on this piece of property is where the entire Drummond family, now including Maggie and Sam, got into all those hijinks. Well, that's gonna do it for this video.
What you talking about?
It's true. I wish it wasn't, because like I said, growing up, Diff'rent Strokes was one of my favorite shows, and there's so many great episodes, like the Mr. T episode, or when Willis joins the Tarantulas, or when he gets a fake mustache. But all of those episodes were filmed on a soundstage, and so I'm just happy that we at least had this one two-part episode that we were able to go out and match up some of the locations. All right, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.